Part 16 of 25, Back in Town, from Good Little Boys Go to Heaven by Stuckey. Fall 1962, East Texas. Nothing seemed to have changed. The town appeared just as I remembered it. 6 years isn't a long time to be gone, but still, I expected to see something different from what I remembered. The town felt the same, it smelled the same. Maybe the people here had changed, but people in places don't change quickly. Their struggle is to not change, and the only changes they do make are they're born, they die, they leave, sometimes they come, but they don't come here. No one would ever choose to come here, and by no one, I mean me. But here I am, back in town. I came back for Emily, I kept telling myself. I hadn't run away from Houston. I had run back here for Emily, I kept telling myself. I had been gone for 6 years, a long time in a person's life. Too long, I knew. I knew I'd given up my claim on her when I left. That's assuming I ever had a real claim on her. We were together for 2 years, and I came to feel closer to her in words than I've ever felt to anyone. Still, something was pushing me away from her all the time. For 6 years, I was gone. For all I knew, she had a husband and some kids. For all I knew, she had moved on. If I had been the more caring man, I would have hoped, for her own sake, she had moved on and left me behind, just as I had attempted to do with her. Still, I had to see her. Maybe she would sit and talk with me about old times. Maybe we could talk about a future together. Maybe she wouldn't hate me. Maybe she wouldn't remember me. Maybe I shouldn't have come back. 6 years was too long to be gone. Too long for nothing to have changed, but not long enough for everything to have changed. It was too long to think that any of what I had left behind with Emily remained. I wish the last 6 years could just disappear from my mind and that Emily wouldn't even notice the years had passed. Hope was all I had, and hope is next to nothing. When my mama died, I ran. I was 16 years old. I'm 22 now. Emily's 2 years older. I ran from this place, catching the next bus through. Emily had cause to run as well, but she seemed comfortable, resigned, mired, living here in a past she would not tell me anything about. When I told her I was leaving, she didn't say anything. She just hung her head, turned and walked away. She never asked me not to go. She never asked to come with me. She had every right to hate me, and hate was all I really expected from her. Still, I had to see her. The walk to the shack where my mama and I used to live was longer than I remembered. I couldn't make it without stopping to rest. I sat on the suitcase I'd brought, half happy that I'd brought it, half regretful because it added to the load I had to carry. I might have made the walk without stopping if I had only brought what I really needed. I got up and walked a bit further. Suddenly it occurred to me that I didn't even know if the shack was still standing. I didn't have any place else to go, so I walked on. Sunset found me about a mile away still. I picked up the pace a little and then even more when the shack came into sight. A push was all it took to open the door. An empty kerosene lamp provided no light, so I was left in the dark. This was where I would have to sleep, so I fumbled around in the dark, hoping for things to be where I remembered them to be. There wasn't much there. A kitchen table, a couch that I slept on while growing up. I didn't enter the bedroom, the room my mama had slept in, sometimes alone, sometimes with my father when he would come by. I started having thoughts I didn't want to have, thoughts about my life here, the life I had run away from. I didn't want to think about these things, not then anyway. All I wanted was to get some sleep. I couldn't have done anything in the dark anyway. Found a couch and sat down. I was hesitant to lie down. I had no idea what kind of vermin were there in the dark. I sat quietly listening. When I felt I had listened for a fair amount of time and had heard nothing creeping in the dark, I lay down. I fell asleep right away. I woke up before sunrise. I got up and went outside. I was hungry, but I had no food to eat. If I'd been thinking clearly, I would have bought something in town before walking all the way out here. I decided to start my walk back into town. I got to town before the grocer had opened. I decided to just sit and wait. Sheriff's car drove by. He pulled up upon seeing me and turned the car in my direction. He stopped the car and got out. I knew him, and he knew me. "You've been gone a long time," he said. "Yes, sir, it's been a while." "Where you been off to? And more importantly, why'd you come back?" "Houston is where I went. I came back to put a headstone on my mama's grave." "You waiting for the store to open?" "Yes, sir." "It doesn't open for about another hour." "I'm doing my rounds now. I'll check on you later," he said, and ended the conversation. He was the sheriff's boy, now a deputy. I was afraid of him growing up. Now I wasn't sure how I felt about him. I wasn't fearful, though. I didn't see him again that day. After the store opened, I went in and bought about 10 cans of food. I wasn't sure what I was buying. My mind wasn't really on food. Neither of the people working there gave any indication of recognizing me. I recognized both, though. They were mother and daughter. They each wore their brown hair in long, identical braids. Mother must have been in her mid-40s, I'd have guessed. Same vacant but pleasant looks on their faces. The daughter rang me up and then ended our transaction with a slight smile and a nod of her head. I decided I'd wait until I got back home before eating, even though I was hungry. When I walked through the door, this time in the light of day, it was as if I'd never been gone. Everything was just as I had remembered, except now there was dust everywhere. I put the cans I had bought down on the table. I, I went to the door of my mama's room. I pushed it open. There was nothing in the room except for a bed and a chest of drawers. The room was dustier than the other room, and there were spider webs everywhere, but otherwise it looked just the same as it had when I left. I went over to the chest of drawers and looked through every drawer. I'm not sure what I was looking for, but I didn't find it. I went back into the kitchen and opened a can with a butcher knife I had found there. After I ate, I went to visit my mama's grave. I'd left the grave unmarked, but I found a marker with her name and dates on it. It had to have been either the church or my father who put it there. I owed thanks to whomever, even though I hoped to leave town without visiting or seeing either. I stood there looking at the marker, waiting for something meaningful to come across me, but nothing did. I had long ago said my goodbyes to my mama. There didn't seem to be any more to say. I was still a bit tired from my trip the previous day, so I decided to go back to the shack and lie down for a while. I slept through most of the day, and when I awoke, there was only about an hour of sunlight left. I opened another can and ate its contents on my way out the door. I was headed to the river. I had to get out of that shack, and I didn't know of anywhere else I could go at this time of day. The river seemed quite low to me. I didn't know if it had been dammed off, it was just a lack of rain. I didn't go in the water. I sat on the bank. I stared out into the water. I wondered why I had come back. I didn't have any hope that Emily would have waited this long for me. I had seen my mama's grave, but it didn't mean anything to me. She was gone. Worms had long ago consumed her body. If she had one, her soul was something I never had any sense of. My mama was gone. Emily wasn't there for me. The following day, I went by the shack Emily and Jewel had shared. The place was all boarded up. No one could have been staying there. I decided no matter what the consequences, I'd go into town and ask about her. It was at the grocery that we first met. She was working there. I decided that was a good place to start. I walked up to the lady at the counter and asked her if she knew what had become of Emily. She said she did. I told her who I was, and she said she remembered me. She asked how long I'd been gone and where I went. Finally, she told me Emily was at the motel on Route 6. She said it was nice to see me again. We said our goodbyes and it was off. I wasn't sure where Route 6 was. I knew the roads and where most of them led, but I never knew what any of them was properly named. I was walking back to the shack where I was staying when he drove up behind me. Good day. You finding this county like you left it? The deputy asked. I nodded my head yes. How long are you planning on staying? I was annoyed at his eagerness to get rid of me. I don't think I gave any indication of that, though. Where's Route 6? I asked him. What kind of business you got out on Route 6? I just stared at him. It's on any map. I'll be seeing you around, he said, and then he drove off. I continued until I was back at the shack. I went inside and sat at the kitchen table. I didn't ask the woman at the store anything about Emily except for her whereabouts, so I really didn't know what I was walking into with her. I hung close to home for the next couple of days. I waited until I was ready to either make a good effort to find Emily or to just pack my bag and leave. I decided to make a good effort. I went by the church Emily had attended years earlier. I got there after the service had begun. I took a post across the road from the church. If she was there, I would see her when she came out. Soon after church let out, I saw a familiar face. A young girl came rushing through the door. I recognized her to be Jewel, Emily's little sister. Then Emily appeared in the doorway. Emily called to Jewel, who was standing in a group of kids talking. Jewel said her goodbyes to the group and proceeded to walk towards Emily. They started up the road in the direction I was standing. Emily looked my way and stopped in her tracks when she saw me. I walked toward her. When I was within speaking distance, I started the conversation. How have you been, Emily? You look great. She didn't say anything. She looked at me as if she were looking at a ghost. Hey, Jewel, how have you been? Hey, where you been? It's been a long time since we've seen you. I've been to Houston. I've been trying to make a go of it with my guitar. You remember hearing me play? Yeah, I remember. You had any luck? Emily started walking up the road while Jewel and I continued our talk. Some, not a whole lot though. I played with a couple of bands. Enjoyed it, but got tired of going from band to band. They don't seem to stick together for very long. Emily was increasing the distance between her and us. She stopped, turned around, and yelled out, Jewel! It was nice seeing you again, Joey. Bye. She ran to catch up with Emily. They walked on at a leisurely pace. It was about a 5 mile walk to the motel. Neither Emily nor Jewel ever turned around to see me following them. Jewel tried a couple of times to start a conversation between the two of them, but Emily ignored her. When they reached the motel, they went into the rental office. I stopped out front and had a seat on the steps. I looked around the motel. I didn't see any cars parked anywhere. I assumed the rooms were all empty. I would have left if there had been folks staying at the motel. I sat on the steps for about an hour before Emily came back out. I looked up at her and she looked down at me. She gave a heavy sigh and sat down beside me. What do you want, Joey? She asked. I just want to talk to you. Go ahead and talk, Joey. How have you been? You said you wanted to talk. Talking and asking questions is two different things. Houston is something else. A lot of people there, a lot of Negroes. They have whole neighborhoods of them. Have you ever thought about leaving here and going someplace like that? I understood from the look she gave me that I wasn't going to get an answer. I'd like to know what you spent the last couple of years doing, but that's difficult when I can't ask you any questions. It hasn't been a couple of years, Joey. It's been 6 years. I can understand why you'd hate me, me leaving like I did and then staying gone so long. I don't hate you, Joey. What do you want from me though? You expect me to greet you with open arms? Surely you're not that much of a fool. For now, all I want is for us to sit and talk like reasonable folk. Go ahead and ask me what you want to know, Joey. I expected you to be married with a couple of kids. It's not because of you I'm not married. Actually, I haven't got married because of you and men like you. I'm better off with just me and Jewel. After Jewel leaves, I'll be better off alone. You know another man? Just one, Joey. Have you ever thought about leaving here? There are a lot of other places where you'd be better off than here. There are places where Negro folks can work and play and live with very little effect from white folk. What are you talking about, Joey? I'm talking about you and Jewel coming back to Houston with me. She shook her head no, got up, and went back into the office. I followed her into the office and asked if she had a room she could rent to a Negro. This Negro have money for a room? I reached in my pocket and withdrew about $200. She nodded her head yes. She gave me a key with a room number on it. I found the room, opened the door, went inside, and laid down on the bed. I had to get Emily back, I decided. I don't know how to describe what I was feeling towards her. It was different than the feelings I remember. It was like I'd run into an old friend. She had been my friend, my closest friend, my only friend. I'd met a lot of people. Some became friends, but it was different with Emma. She was a friend I was in love with. I was up about an hour before dawn. I went outside and saw Emily sitting on the steps that led into the office across the parking lot. I crossed the parking lot and was within 10 feet of her before she looked up, startled. I smiled and she looked back at me. Emily, I never stopped loving you. I started. Joy, please don't. Emily interrupted. Look at me, Em, I said, kneeling in front of her. I'm not sure why I'm here. I have no right to ask anything of you, but still, I can't help but ask. I'm going back to Houston and I'm begging you to come with me. She shook her head. Joy, I'm not going anywhere with you, she said while rising. She turned and walked into the office. I sat in her place on the steps. It was a few minutes later when Jewel came out. Where are you headed, little girl? I said with a smile. School. You just gonna sit there like a bump on a log all day? What grade are you in now? Ninth. I gotta run. I'll see you, Joey. I went back to the shack and retrieved my bag. It was a long walk, but I walked it through without stopping. I went into the room I'd rented from Emma and got some clean clothes from the bag and laid them out. I got in the tub and lay there until the water grew too cold for me to tolerate. I left the bathroom and upon entering the main room, I noticed that I was not alone. Emily was sitting at the table. I went over to the bed, picked up the clothes I'd laid out, and went into the bathroom with her. I was dressed in a couple of minutes and rejoined Emily in the main room. You about to ask me to leave? No, but why are you here, Joey? Really? I know you didn't come all this way for me. You showed me how much you cared for me when you left, and then I didn't hear from you for 6 years. Nothing you can say will change that. You're right, Emily. Nothing can change what I've done. I'll be here a few more days and then I'll be gone. I really did come back for you. I really do wish you'd come with me. But I understand how you feel. I'm sorry about what I did. But when my mama died, no, Joey, don't. I got a graveyard full of dead folks just like you do. With this said, Emily got up and left the room. I thought my luck had run out with again. I wasn't sure what I'd spend the next couple of days doing, just sitting around the room, I guess. They didn't serve food at the motel, but Emily was kind enough to share the food she had with me. She was even willing to sit and talk civilly with me. We talked about her position there at the motel. She told me my father owned them and that he'd hired her to clean them. I wasn't sure how they even met. I never mentioned either of them to the other. I didn't ask Emily about that. I worked up one last nerve to go to Emily and beg her once and for all to leave with me. I went looking for her around the motel. I passed a room that had an open door. I looked in and saw Emily stripping the sheets. I asked her if she needed any help. Without even looking my way, she shook her head. I walked into the room and watched her replace the bed sheets and then the bedspread. I walked up behind her and placed my hands on her hips. She stood there motionless. I slid my arms around her, pressing my body up against hers. Still, she stood motionless. I removed one of my arms from around her waist and brushed the hair back from her neck with my hand. I kissed her neck lightly. She turned her face towards me, allowing me to kiss her on the cheek. I turned her around to where she was facing me and pulled her close. She let me kiss her on the lips. She kissed me back. I pushed her onto the bed. I took a position on the bed next to her. It was about an hour before she pushed me off her and hurriedly got dressed. She said Jewel would be home soon. She left the room running toward the office. I lay there on the bed and went to sleep. She came back and woke me around dinner time. She seemed to be in a good mood for dinner. I wasn't sure if she had had a change of heart. I wasn't sure what was going on between her and me. It was about midnight when she came out and sat on the office steps beside me. She didn't say anything. I got up and reached out my hand to her. She took my hand and rose. We started toward the room I was staying in. That's it.